It really wasn't a matter of what I saw, it's what I heard. We came through the turn pretty hot. Trent was behind me, and then another guy was behind him. And as we swung the turn, I heard that sound. And if you're on a bike, or you race bikes, or you're spending time around bikes, there's really only one sound that you know, and that's when carbon hits metal or carbon hits the pavement. And I knew instantly what happened.
I met Trent our senior year of high school. We just kind of met through mutual friends and started dating February of 1998.
We dated for about 6 months before we went off to college, and she was going to TCU and I was going to Louisiana Tech to play football. I'm a physical therapist. I work in the outpatient setting. I treat anywhere from strokes to high-level athletes. I've been real active, I guess, all my life. I played football in high school, ended up playing football and a little lacrosse in college. When I got done with college sports, I looked for something else to do. Started running, doing 5Ks, and then somebody in my PT school class approached me about doing a triathlon. Just kind of escalated to how far can we take my body, and that turned into a marathon. It turned into a couple triathlons, and then I saw an Ironman Triathlon, and it seemed to be like the ultimate athletic endurance event. So I signed up and said, let's do this thing. An Ironman event is a triathlon, which is a swim, bike, and a run. The swim portion is 2.4 miles, the bike portion is 112 miles, and then you run a full marathon after that, 26.2 miles. It's a pretty grueling event that will take every ounce of energy that you have.
So about 2 years into our marriage, we decided, okay, it's time to start thinking about having a family. Things just weren't going as planned, and that's when we really started our 4 to 5 year journey of infertility. Well, our first IUI worked, and I was pregnant, and our first ultrasound went well enough where we told our families in excitement the baby was actually going to be born on my mom's birthday, so it just seemed perfect. So we went back for our second ultrasound, and the baby wasn't growing as it should, and so I ended up having a miscarriage, and so that was really hard. It was pretty devastating. We thought we had finally had the opportunity to become parents, and we felt like it was just kind of ripped away from us. I ended up wanting to do another IUI just to try it, and we did, and it actually worked. It was the day before Trent's second Ironman.
We're in Houston, getting everything ready, getting all my gear together, and Molly walks up to me and tells me she just got a call from the fertility clinic. This is on May 18th, the day before the race, and tells me that she's pregnant.
Trent had an awesome race. It was great. We finally felt like this was it.
We get home to Shreveport and we find out that we miscarried for our second time.
It's just an exhausting, emotionally trying, financially trying. It's just a horrible thing to have to go through. I think that was probably the worst part about infertility, was that I saw Trent's desire to have a child and what an amazing father he would be if he got the opportunity, and that I just wasn't able to give him that opportunity. So it was heartbreaking for me, but I just would look at him with other people's kids, and I'm like, it's not fair to him. Like why, I just felt like he doesn't deserve to go through this.
So I did a couple rides after the Ironman because I knew I had some triathlons coming up during the summer I wanted to do. So we were going on a route that I was unfamiliar with. I hadn't ridden this route before. There was construction on the normal route. And so we came up to a turn that was a lot sharper than I realized.
As you look back, there were some mitigating circumstances. One is that there was some construction up the road. Normally, this route, it's a different route. We actually come up this street this way. It's a 30-mile loop. The nature of the ride is very competitive.
They were all on road bikes, and I was on a time trial bike, which doesn't handle as well as a road bike. And so they took the turn, made it look fairly easy, and then so I try to take the turn on this time trial bike that doesn't handle as well, and I see a truck coming towards me, and it all kind of happened in a split second, but I remember thinking through the situation. The truck wasn't swerving to get out of my way, so I tried to cut it back, and the next thing I remember, I'm just laying on the ground with no air in my lungs and I can't breathe.
This side over here is 911. Where's your emergency?
We have an emergency on, what road is this? What road is this? About a mile off the I-49 exit on the Stonewall exit. What road is this? Stonewall and Bethel.
On Stonewall and Bethel? Okay, sir, what's going on? We already have a call on it, and we've got an ambulance en route, but go ahead and let me know what's going on.
We got a biker hit by a car.
Biker hit by a car?
Hit by a car, yeah.
Okay, is he breathing?
Yeah, but
He is? Okay.
Hey, lift his arm up.
No, try not to move him around, sir, okay? We don't want him...
Yeah, don't move him around.
Yeah, we don't want him moving...
What should we do?
Is he unconscious or is he conscious?
I think he's barely conscious.
He had this really vicious laceration on his arm from the impact of the truck.
The next thing I remember, I was just laying on the ground, kind of doing a systems check, and I noticed that I couldn't breathe at all. So then I thought, well, maybe I just kind of knock the air out of my lungs and it'll come back. Well, it wasn't coming back at all. I just started to focus on my breathing. I noticed that a little bit of air was trickling back into my lungs, but not my left one, and I could hear some gurgling. I just couldn't feel it expanding very well.
And then bubbles started coming out of his mouth, and I knew that he was going into some type of respiratory distress.
I got a call from a friend who I knew was out riding with Trent. And so I answered the phone, and she told me that Trent's been in a wreck. He's barely breathing. We think, his lung has collapsed.
When he left on the air ambulance, I thought he was gonna die. I mean, I really did.
In that human moment, I was just pleading for God to just spare Trent. Like, all I can offer up is I'll just leave you alone about having a child. Like, I've been praying for over 5 years for every day, and I'll just never ask for a child again if you would just spare Trent's life.
He's unprotected, struck by a vehicle, and suffered an injury at that time that was potentially life-threatening. He was taken to LSU's trauma center here in Shreveport, where evaluation revealed that the left side of his chest had been crushed in. The shoulder blade or scapula on the left side was severely injured.
So once I saw Trent, he was being wheeled up from the ER to the ICU. He just kind of looked at me and he said he was sorry. He had 2 chest tubes coming out of him. He was just completely bloody. Then I got to finally talk to a doctor, and they told me his left lung had collapsed and he had broken all of his ribs. From a scale from like 1 to 10, the severity of it was a 9. So it was really, really scary.
Typically, whenever they see ribs in the condition that mine were in, it's because of a big accident, and those people are usually dead, so they don't have to do any repairs to them.
These are the right-sided ribs that have a nice curvature. These are the left-sided ribs, but there are multiple fractures through this area with multiple ribs involved here, and then also a separate set of fractures in those same ribs here.
They kept shooting chest x-rays to see how my lungs were healing, and 5 days into it, they just said the left lung really wasn't healing like they would hoped it would be. They did a repeat CT scan and saw that some of the ribs were actually jabbing into the lungs, so I couldn't breathe very deep. When I did, it was very painful. So that was one reason why the lungs weren't healing so well, was because I couldn't take these deep breaths to allow it to heal. I didn't know if I'd be able to swim again or run or bike or do any of these things again.
So the surgery went so much better than expected. He was on the table for half the time. They were able to plate, I think, 5 ribs, and then after surgery, they were able to extubate him, so he didn't even have to go on the ventilator. He was able to breathe with oxygen through his nose.
I had just had my ribs plated, and then Molly comes into the recovery room where I was in ICU, and she's got this big grin on her face, and I'm in a lot of pain. They'd just done this huge procedure, and I'm on some pain medicine, but I look over at her and she's got this big grin on her face, and I'm saying, she knows something I don't know.
When he was in the ICU is when I got a call from the fertility doctor saying that we were pregnant. And sure enough, I was, and the result is Mary Caroline. It was definitely well worth all the struggle and heartache and tears of 5 years. He definitely was like, okay, I've got to get my body back to functioning because I'm gonna have to change diapers and I want to be able to hold my child in 8 months. So it was still Trent in that he's always so goal oriented and he's never gonna not meet that goal, but it was just kind of a goal bigger than life itself. It was the goal to get back and to be a father.
The excitement of, Molly telling me she's pregnant kind of boosted my recovery process to motivate me to walk and to get better.
Molly will want to see your first steps.
I didn't know what was going to happen in the future, and so that was the scary part of me, that I couldn't plan further than the next day. The good thing about coming off an Ironman was that I was in the best shape of my life, and so recovery should be a little bit easier than just if I had not been training.
So as soon as we got home, it was, I'm gonna walk around the house, and then he walked to the end of the driveway, and then we walked to the next driveway, and then we walked to the stop sign, and then he went around the whole block. And so every day he pushed himself a little harder.
Those first stages of recovery, the first time I tried to swim was excruciatingly painful. The first time I tried to run, I felt like I was just walking and it was hard to get a breath. The first time I tried to cycle, I felt like a kid that just got his trainer wheels pulled off.
He did not want to even take his pain meds. He doesn't like pain meds. So he was just kind of enduring it, just all to get back in order to take care of our child. So
she would put my plate too far away, and so I'd have to reach out to get it. She was always encouraging to me. She was always motivating me to get better. It was a funny thing about the wreck. I don't actually remember hitting the truck. I remember heading towards it, but I don't remember hitting it. So it's my rides since then, I don't have a fear of a truck coming by or anything. I don't remember that. No, fear's no, it doesn't bother me.
He loves to bike, and that was harder for me the first time he got on. I didn't want him, but you can't live in fear, and he loves to do it, so I'm not going to stop him. I think he's definitely teaching our daughter a lesson of not quitting, never giving up.
It's hard to explain how you feel after you just had a baby, especially after you've gone through 4 years of disappointment and failed tests. It was a really cool experience just to sit next to Molly on the bed and hold our child and hold this miracle blessing that we've been praying for 4 years. Finally to see it all come together was an incredible moment for us. Initially, I was recovering to be able to hold a baby now that we found out we were pregnant. And that was my focus through most of recovery. Of course, in the back of my mind, I wanted to run another marathon or do another triathlon.
We want to welcome everybody once again to the 33rd edition of the River Cities Triathlon. 30 years in a row, Matt Brown, Sports Spectrum, has put this thing together, one of the top triathlons in the nation.
This race that I'm about to do was one that I was training for when I got in the accident. So again, this is a kind of a mental overcoming of the accident to get back to what I was training for last year.
I'm excited to see him doing what he loves. And it definitely means more because 9 months ago, he could barely walk. So it's just amazing to see his dedication.
For him to have gone through this and already know so many people in this community, now for them to see him back participating at the level it is, I mean, he truly is an inspiration.
I've just been with him for every step of the way, so I know how much pain he's endured, serious surgeries he's gone through. I'm gonna be a proud wife when I see him cross the finish line.
To be part of a patient's life is it's a privilege. It truly is a privilege and an honor, and I think most physicians feel that way. So to have gotten to know Trent and Molly the way that I have, just to be involved in their family and to be able to help in his recovery. But in my interaction with this family, they love each other deeply. They care about each other.
I wouldn't change any of it. I wouldn't change our story. It's amazing to see all the blessings, to be blessed with Trent and Mary Caroline.
It's made me a better husband because I realize how incredible my wife is. I knew that before I got in a wreck, but even more so afterwards. And to see all the things that she did for me, it just strengthened our marriage and our bond. And there's just things in life that you go through that you don't know why they happened, but you can look back and say, that particular instance made me who I am. And this wreck, one day I'm gonna look back and say, that made me the person I am today.